right, guys, we are live. Welcome to the Baxter Riches Podcast. I'm Zach Ginn, your host. I quitted my minimum wage bag boy job to pursue the riches of real estate investing at the age of 17 and never looked back. I'm here to educate and inform entrepreneurs, young and old, how to become complete real estate investors by talking to the best and most influential minds of real estate. Today, I'm joined by our guest, Scott Oots. Scott is a real estate investing killer out there. He is doing over $4 million in wholesaling in one of the most competitive businesses and markets in Corona, California. How's it going today, Scott?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm great, man. So I want to start out with the cliche thing. How did you get started in real estate investing?
Oh, man. So that was almost 5 years ago now. I was actually researching to be a real estate agent. And then I came across, a lot of people know Flip to Freedom, Sean Terry, came across his stuff and his excitement and, you know, the way he opens up all of his podcasts and everything. It just caught my attention. And at that point I said, you know, I got to see what this guy's doing. And I started watching his videos and started realizing there's more outside of the standard real estate agent practice. And I honestly realized very quickly, I didn't want to be held to the red tape that a lot of real estate agents are held to. I wanted to do something completely different for myself. And that's where I started really watching Sean's stuff and ultimately went into Sean being my mentor and his mastermind.
It's a good mentor to have. You know, I've never met Sean before, but his energy is infectious. So
yeah.
What year did you start then wholesaling?
So we were 2015.
2015, great. So I actually started in 2017. So yeah,
okay.
So you got some years on me, but okay. So can you break down your first wholesale deal you ever did?
Yeah, so my first deal, the spread was around, I think it was right around $4,000.
Right.
I was so excited. I thought I was killing it out there, having that $4,000 spread. And honestly, the seller called, my wife was answering the phones, I was going on appointments. I went and met this lady, had no idea what I was doing, and honestly scared shitless in this thing. I walked into this house and I'm just like, oh my God, what am I doing right now? Didn't really know the numbers I was going to offer. But ultimately, I didn't get the deal right there at the appointment. I followed up with her a few times, had to go through her son on a lot of the follow-up because he was the one living at the house. And it took me about 2 weeks, I think, to get that one from the day I went to the appointment to getting signed. And got it signed, and then came the whole other side trying to assign it off. And that was a whole different animal because I had no buyers, no idea what I was doing. I'm posting the thing on Craigslist. I'm driving around looking for people rehabbing properties, swinging in and just saying, hey, it looks like you're remodeling. Half of them are homeowners, and I'm walking up to their house. And they're like, nope, we're not a buyer. Great. So on to the next one and the next one. And finally, I got a call off one of my Craigslist ad. And the guy said, hey, I'm interested in the property, and met him out there. And the guy was like, yeah, this is perfect. Tried to lowball me. I said, that's not going to work. And had to lower my price a little bit to the point I pulled I think it was like $4,200 out of it. And it was exciting because it showed it worked. I wasn't too worried about it not being $50,000 at that moment. It just showed that everything I had invested in and put my time in actually came through. And the feeling was good, especially when that actually closed. And then I got the check and I was like, all right, this is real. Now I can go ahead and put this money back in and keep trying. But by the time that closed, I had another 2 under contract. So it started happening at that point. So a lot of people, they get their first deal and they're so focused on that one deal, they stop marketing, they stop making phone calls. And then if that deal falls through, they're like, wait, why did I do that? So I kept marketing, I kept pushing through that whole time. So I had 2 more deals in the pipeline by the time that actually closed. So the $4,000 spread didn't look so bad because I had another like 20,000 and some in the pipeline at that point.
Wow. So what would you say your early struggles were in wholesaling?
I mean, it's going to be the same struggles a lot of people are dealing with right now that are starting. They just don't know what the heck to do. I mean, it's very overwhelming because, you can either look at it as a hobby or you can look at it as a business, right?
Mhm.
Somebody that looks at it as a hobby, they're not spending as much time on it. They're just making some money to go out and go on vacation or buy a fancy car or do something like that. I knew I wanted to make it a business. So for me, my struggle was knowing how, right? I didn't know. I graduated high school. I didn't go to college. I was just like, I got to do something different. And I was out to prove myself. So I had to do something that I had no idea what to do, right? I had Sean as a mentor, which really helped me out a ton and really sprung me forward. But as far as like, I didn't know anything about business taxes, QuickBooks, any of that kind of crap that you've got to start learning when you start running a business. You have to start paying attention to that. You got to have business accounts set up, get your LLC or business registered. You got to have your city business license, which I didn't know. I thought once you had the federal, you were good. Then if you hire someone, you got to have an EIN number. You got to have all this stuff that I just didn't know about. So I learned a lot of this stuff the hard way, especially being in California. Franchise tax board is another one you got to pay. And I didn't know that. So I was delinquent on their $800 I had to pay them. And I think they fined me like 3 times on that before I actually ended up paying them. And I was just spending the money, right? I was putting it right back into marketing. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely a struggle. It's just the know-how. And it was about 4 to 5 months in when Sean said to me, hey, I got this mastermind and you got to join it. And that's when I joined his mastermind at that time, which really opened my eyes and answered a ton of questions that I had. And I learned so much in that room. I felt I was sitting there with probably 30 people who I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. And I felt so stupid, right? All these guys are in there. I felt like all of them knew what they were doing, but they felt the same way. They felt stupid as well. And they felt like even I knew what I was doing. And finally, once we started breaking stuff down, we're like, wow, we're all idiots. And then we really broke it down for 2 full days. And I left actually understanding more about how this business needs to be run and how to put money aside to make sure you can pay for marketing and be consistent. And that was so valuable to me for how it helped my business push forward. Because I tripled or maybe even 4 times my business in the next couple months just based on that meeting.
Yeah. So I just want to say how I got started seeing you or knowing who you were was because I didn't know who you were before. And I started seeing you pop up on podcasts everywhere. And I'm like, geez, 4 million. I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. So then, we messaged each other. We got you on here. So how old are you? Don't mind me asking.
35.
35. So you started at the age of 30.
Yep.
Great. So yeah, a lot of our audience, they start out very early. And there's a lot of 18, 19-year-old guys there. We got some older people there too. So obviously you're not doing 2 to 3 deals every month anymore. You're really ramping it up. So can you explain how in such a short time you've really ramped things up?
Yeah. You mentioned people younger starting this business. So Jalen White, if you know him, he's a real good friend of mine. He started this business very young, and I applaud anyone that starts it at that age because I look at what he knows at his age and I say, man, you're going to blow me out of the water by the time you're my age. So he is one of those people that are so focused on what he's doing that he wants to succeed. And growing the business is a whole nother thing, right? Because now, besides just learning how to run a business, now you're looking at other things like hiring. How much do I pay them? Do I hire the right person? Am I going to have to fire them? Can I afford to continue to pay them if my business doesn't go the way it needs to go? So starting to scale is challenging. So I tell anyone from day one, so I'm starting this business, it's day one right now. You need to start paying attention to people that you see in your life that could potentially be good employees, right? Okay. You should always be on the lookout. And one thing that always gets me is when I'm at a restaurant, servers to me are a big deal because you can see how friendly they are. And, there's always that one person in the restaurant that's yelling at the server over some stupid crap. And I watch. Number one, I want to protect that server because they shouldn't be yelled at. But number two, I watch because how do they deal with that? And I've looked at that, and I've actually offered a job to people in restaurants before because I'm like, hey, I think this could actually be really good. Now, they didn't take it, whatever. I don't know what it was, but they didn't take it. But you should always be on the lookout for that hire. When I started, I knew who I was going to hire in my dispositions role. within probably 2 months of being in the business. Now, I didn't hire him for a while, but I knew who it was going to be. And you have to really lean on relationships that you have with friends and stuff like that to get people on board with you, right? The most difficult part is hiring, but I think some of the mistakes that people make when scaling is they hire too early. You watch podcasts and everything out there. There's a lot of guys out there that have, the fancy cars, the fancy suits. I respect a lot of them, but the thing is, a lot of people that are getting started, they want that. So they're getting that mentality that I need to make this work well enough that I can escape it. There's a lot of people that teach that. Build your business to escape it. I love my business. I don't want to escape it. I can go on a vacation if I want to, but ultimately, I don't want to build it to escape it. This is what I created. I want to be part of it, whether that's a smaller part of it. Fantastic. But I want people to get that mentality out of their head of trying to escape their businesses quick, because by doing that, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. You're not focusing your all on what's good for the business. You're focusing on, how do I escape? And if you're already thinking that on day one, don't start the business, right? Don't do it. Choose something different. But I mean, as you start hiring, you need to make sure that your income's consistent enough. And you need to make sure. I made the mistake when I went out and I offered way too much money, right? I started out at like 20% commission from my guys. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like,
holy moly.
Yeah, you look at it, but you don't think of all the expenses that go with growing. So now I've got an office. We pay almost $5,000 a month for my office. We've got staff in here that aren't revenue generating, right? There are people in here that are doing transaction coordinating for us, people that are doing texting, but that can turn into revenue, but that's still a cost that I have to pay every single month if my sales guys don't perform. So as your overhead grows, everyone thinks if I put $1 into marketing and make 5, I can put $2 into marketing and make 10, and then just keep going with that. It's not the case. You might put 10,000 into marketing today and make a profit, but you might put 20,000 into marketing tomorrow, but there's a level of saturation as you continue to increase things like that. So as your costs grow and then your level of saturation on marketing grows, you have to be constantly thinking of new things to be doing. And I think that a lot of people, when they grow, they assume, okay, great, I bring an employee on, easy enough, but they're not taking into account how much money it costs to get a deal. Well, you may send 100 postcards to get a deal at one point. Down the road, you might send 500 postcards to get a deal because you're going broader and not deeper. So there's a lot that comes with growth and a lot of growing pains. And honestly, I'm still experiencing them. They'll never stop. So I'm not going to lie to people and say, hey, it's all sunshine and rainbows. No, it's still a roller coaster, even once you get to this point. But your problems get bigger and more expensive as you get there. Like I lost a $100,000 deal a few weeks ago. $100,000. So I have a $100,000 wholesale fee coming in. And I was like, all right, let's get this thing closed. And boom, seller had no right to sign, contract void. We're done. We can go after him for fraud, but the guy's got nothing. So look at that and say, okay, you have to always be prepared for the downside because it can happen. And that's what people just don't realize getting into these businesses, because you watch all the podcasts and it's all positive, 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 because they think that's what people want to hear. But let's be real. It's not. I've had some real sleepless nights in the past, and I've worked long hours to get my business to where it is now. And ultimately, we're successful. We do a lot. But if I look at all the deals that fall through or the deals that we don't get, I mean, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars per year that falls out. So that's why consistency is so important. You got to be consistent in every single thing you do. Marketing, follow up. You got to be consistent on how you answer the phone, how your sales guys go out and run appointments. All that stuff contributes to your bottom line profitability. So you have to make sure that you keep all that stuff going and you build yourself a system, right? The people that are just making it up as they go every day, stop growing. And you probably heard the phrase like build your foundation. You got cracks in your foundation, good luck building the tower, right? It's going to fall. So build that foundation really strong. And I didn't do that for probably my first 9 months. And I had employees on, and we were just literally everyone was just figuring things out as we went. So I had to go back through and start building process documents and actually rebuilding that foundation. So I stopped my growth for a couple months to be able to do that. And now we've got a great foundation built that we do things specific ways. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to do something like that.
Definitely. So how's the wholesaling business looking now? So you obviously have your acquisitions, you got the dispositions, transaction coordinating. Is this all virtual? Are they going on appointments?
So we were originally running all appointments, but then we realized traffic here in California, I mean, we go about 60 miles every direction. So it could take us 2 hours to get to an appointment. And if we don't get it, we got 2 hours back. You literally wasted half your day. So we started shifting more towards qualifying the sellers more. And we only go to the appointments that are pretty much a done deal. When we go to an appointment, we'll close about 70%. Because we are sure that person's going to sign. We'll go as far as saying, all right, if I come out there today, we know that we're going to get this done, right? We agree on this. And they'll say yes, and we'll get in that car and we'll go. But we also make sure we don't get surprised by not all the decision makers being there and things like that. We set ourselves up for success on day one to make sure that if we go to that appointment, there's no excuse like my husband's not home or my wife isn't home or my aunt needs to sign. We make sure that all those people are there or we go where they are. But we shifted more towards that qualifying. So we go on probably about a third of the appointments now that we used to go on.
Okay.
And we actually do a lot of DocuSign contracts. So if someone's ready to sign, we'll just send that, get it signed, get it back in and move on to the next one. So we shifted to that. It's probably been a year since we started shifting to that. And I was nervous switching to that. But still, we find that when we go in person, we will typically get the house about $30,000 to $40,000 lower.
100%.
So,
Totally
so it makes it worth it. Yeah, I'd say so. I agree with in-person appointments 100%. If you can get there because it gives you the ability to build rapport that you just can't do over the phone, and it also gives you the ability to hopefully negotiate that price down just a little bit.
And so, how many acquisitions people do you have now?
We have 5 now.
Wow.
One is out in Dallas, Texas. So we moved him out there. We were starting that market. We were going to go virtual, but then I kept telling myself what I just told you, right? We can get the house so much lower being in person. So he actually picked up his life, moved out there, and he started our Texas company out there. So, and then everyone else is here in the office, but they'll go out on appointments and do things like that.
Wow, that's awesome. So, have you been a fan of, I've heard a lot of wholesalers, especially in my market here in South Florida, they've been doing the haircut on every single deal possible now. If you guys are listening, don't know what that is, they get under contract and they go back like 2 weeks before and they try to cut it even more. I mean, what's your opinion on wholesalers doing that?
Honest opinion, I think it's a bit shady. I think that it will come back to bite you later. I know people that teach that. Friends of mine that actually teach that, but I honestly, I can't get on board with it. Now, if we go back for a price reduction, it's because there's something the seller didn't tell us. And like, for instance, we went back and got $100,000 price reduction on a house because there was a big foundation issue that they didn't tell us about. And when we found out about that issue, they clearly had it fixed. And when they had that, it's better. Sorry, my lighting was off. When they attempted to have that fixed, literally the house was sitting on wood blocks. So they obviously knew about it. And we found out that the 2 people that were selling us the house were engineers. And I'm like, all right, come on. You knew about this issue. So they did negotiate down $100,000 on that house because of that. And otherwise, like, we won't just get a house under contract knowing we're going back for a price reduction. That's why my reviews in my company are so good. If people continue to do that, they will start getting a string of bad reviews that will start affecting their business. Now, we have to get down to the reason they're doing it. Now, I truly believe the reason they're doing it is because they're not confident in themselves enough to negotiate properly at the appointment. So if they say $500,000, the seller's like, I'll take 510, and they know that won't work, they're going to lock it up just because they don't want to try to negotiate down to that 500,000. Now, my team's going to try to negotiate that to 480. So it's a big difference on what we try to do and what a lot of other people try to do. Now, most of the deals we buy, there's competition there, and we're not the highest offer.
No,
so everyone's so concerned on money. It's not always about the money. Like, you think, I was just as an example, right? You go buy a car. You're sitting at that car lot. The guy comes out to you and he just treats you like crap. There's another guy over here at another car lot that treated you great. He treated you with respect. Sir, what can I do for you? That kind of thing. As the other guy's like, he doesn't have time for you. Who do you buy that car from? Right? Now, you're probably going to go do business with the person that you like. You're going to give that person probably the ability to match the offer of the other person if he was lower. But do you really want to put commission in someone's pocket that treated you like crap? Or would you potentially pay a couple $100 more over the life of your car loan to deal with someone that was genuine and actually a good person?
Definitely.
So that's what, go ahead.
Oh yeah, a point I wanted to make. I had a podcast guest, I think a couple weeks ago. He told me something very interesting like that. He said, do you or your wife, because I know my mom, my sisters, they all watch those Bachelor shows, all the love shows. So they just statistically look at that, and they ask all those women, when did you know you loved your husband or like he was the one? And the number one reason they said is because he knows me better than anyone else. Mm-hmm. And that is the same exact thing with these sellers. If you had 5 other guys and you know them the best, you know what job they had, their family, little things like that, they will sell to you for a discount.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the thing is, it's not even so much as selling for a discount. They'll at least call and give you the opportunity, because if we offer 500 and someone offers 520, the seller doesn't want to take a $20,000 hit, right? They're not, well, my relationship's strong enough that $20,000 is going to go away. No, they're typically going to call us and say, hey, Scott, here's where I'm at. I've got this other guy that came in. He offered me $520,000. You're at 500. I really prefer to do business with you. Now, 100% of the time, we're not going to go to that guy's number, because we realize at that point the seller wants to do business with us. So now we've got the leverage, right? So now we'll go ahead and we'll try to close that gap as much as we can. But ultimately, it's not going to go up a ton. And the majority of the time, they'll come with us. Now, if we feel that we're truly going to lose that deal, then we'll go outside of the norm and we'll try to really make an exception to get the deal done. But we don't like to go back for price reductions. Now, circling back to that, other people would probably say, yeah, we'll lock it up at 520, knowing very well they're going to go back and try to lower it to 500. And their thought is, well, I mean, the seller's already going to be so far into the process with us, they're just going to want to get the thing done. So they're going to go 500. Well, then what happens to your reviews afterwards? It gets bad.
Yeah, those numbers are scaring me. I think the highest price I've ever bought a house was maybe 200, and that freaked me out. Yeah, but I'm in a way cheaper market here in Florida. So I feel like, in my opinion, I've hired acquisitions guys. I had them working for me here. The most time-consuming thing is training them. So 5 guys, how do you train them?
So that's actually the fun part. I've actually always enjoyed training. I've always had a good time with it. So what we've done, I now have a COO in my company. So he manages all my sales guys, and together we do the training. So that's like the acquisitions training I was telling you guys about. Me and him are the ones going out and doing that. But we have a very solid training process with our team. They don't go out. We don't just say, okay, go out on your own. They sit and they learn. And we have still to this day weekly sales meetings. They're actually just getting out of the meeting right now, every Tuesday. And they go through and talk about any potential deals from the previous week, anything that fell apart. They go through and talk about all this stuff and break down everything sales. And they talk about it for over an hour. So they help each other close deals and get better. But I also have my team record a lot of appointments. So when they record them, we come back. We don't use it like against the seller. They just come back. We'll listen to some of them and we'll try to help them get through things. But when they're in the office, everyone that takes a phone call, they're out there in like a group, right? All their desks are together. Their phone's on speaker the entire time. So we can hear them having the conversation So people around, you're not just, the seller thinks they're talking to one person, but they're really talking to about 6 people sitting there. They just don't know it. So you've got potentially 6 salespeople, or between inside and outside sales, helping that person get through that deal. So if they see him losing it, they'll go like this to him, and he's going to mute his phone real quick, and they're going to say, hey, try this. He unmutes it, tries it, mutes it again. So seller doesn't know. They're literally being muted over and over again. And they've got a whole team working on trying to close them if needed. And that really helps us with our closing rate, because there could be something that that sales rep just doesn't see. You know, like how you can listen to something later, even yourself, and you're like, well, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? We're able to do that live for our sales team.
Wow.
So training happens all the time. And then we go out a couple of times a month after work. We all just grab a drink. It's a speak freely session. And they can sit down and literally say, Scott, I hate the way you're running the company. Okay, great. Tell me how that is. Nobody gets in trouble for anything they say there. And we've had some stuff said that I'm just like, oh my God. But it's great because I'm taking their input in, and we're truly making changes to keep the employees happy. We haven't lost anyone on our team. No one has quit our team in 3 years. So it's been a big thing for us. We've let a couple people go, but we take care of our people, and their voice is heard. And that's so important.
Definitely. I think I saw something about employees that the number one indicator why they stay with the company or leave, it's not money. It's always their job satisfaction.
Yeah. I mean, would you stay at a place you didn't like? No. I mean, yeah. I mean, you might like the money at first, right? If you're making $100,000 a year, 150,000 a year, you're like, I can deal with this for a while. But I originally said that. So my business previous to this was a cell phone business. I wholesaled cell phones overseas. I bought used ones, fixed them, sold them. And I made so much money at that business. It was stupid. I mean, the amount of money I was making, like, I was just like, this is easy. What am I doing? And I said, I always told myself that if I made a ton of money, I don't care what I do. I'll do it. But my mentality changed when I had that business. It was mind numbing. Like I hated it, but I loved the money. Finally, I said, all right, I have to give up this money because I can't physically sit there and reset and test another cell phone in my life. Like, I can't do it. Like, you're sitting here testing the speakers. Hello, hello. Yep, that works. All right, does the internet work? Yes, no. Enter the SIM card. You're checking everything on these phones so you know if it works or not, what needs to be repaired. And when you've got, I mean, I had like 3,000 to 4,000 phones in front of me at a time. And when you're going through and you got chargers all over the place, phones charging, you're just like, oh my God, you hear all the phones starting up and you're just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. So that's when my mentality shifted. And I said, I have to do something different. And if that meant I was going to be a real estate agent and literally lose everything I worked for, start again, I'm like, at least I'll enjoy what I'm doing. And that's why this business came about. You know, it's important. You have to love what you do. And most people just think that money's everything. I mean, yes, I love money. Money can buy a lot of things, but I would rather know that I enjoy what I do and give up a little bit of money to make that happen.
Definitely. I had not a similar story at all, but when I was 17, I was a bag boy at a grocery store, and one manager made me scrub toilets for the first time. And I'm not going to get into details, disgusting. And I basically shifted everything when the wholesaling full-time quit. But yeah, there's no money in that too. But okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's great. So if I had a pie chart of your business when it comes to marketing, what would be the biggest sliver of that getting your deals?
Direct mail.
Really? Okay.
So that's the thing is everyone listens to the gurus, right? And the gurus say, go to RVM, go to text. I shift away from that. When the guru says to go do this, I go to something else because that's what everyone sees, the shiny light. And they assume that just because it worked for this person and this person, it's going to work for them. So for me, I've stayed with direct mail for a long time. When I started this business, over 99% of my deals were pay-per-click. So I paid for Google advertising. I was spending almost $40,000 a month on Google advertising. And my return was insane. These were sellers that literally called you and you say, hello, they're like, I want to sell, take my house. That's pretty much what we were getting. And we were closing deals like crazy. Then all of a sudden, one day, Google changed their algorithm. Tanked. I mean, overnight tanked. So luckily, even with pay-per-click going, I still kept a little bit of direct mail. just because I don't like my all eggs in one basket mentality. So luckily when that PPC shifted, my direct mail was supporting us. And PPC still attempted to recover over the years, but it never got back to where it was. But direct mail is 5 times where it was from then to today. So we make a ton because it is a more expensive marketing channel. A lot of people say RVMs are so cheap. Yeah, but a lot of people are also getting sued from RVMs and stuff.
I'm in Florida. I know 2 guys I personally talked to over the phone. They said, I got a 6-figure fine slapped on me. And it's the cost of doing business. I'm like, okay.
That's the thing is when you do look at that, that's true. I know some guys that have been sued and they're like, all right, I had to pay $30,000, but I made $100,000 just on that one deal alone, right? So it does make sense how you can get that mentality a little bit, but it's going to get tougher and tougher on what people are cracking down on. And like I do text messaging as well, right? There's not a lot of attention around text messaging yet, but you'll realize as people are getting scared from RVM, they're going to text. So where do you think they're going to focus next on trying to sue people? They're going to follow it. It's going to go to text. So I'm sitting over here with direct mail and having the elderly people yell at me because I ruined their day sending them a postcard. But I'd rather have those elderly people yell at me than have the government come after me. So when people start shifting over and the focus shifts to text, I'll probably start RVM. Okay. Because now the shift has gone away from it. So I'm going to try to stay. I've been doing text since the first text system that was really out there that was TCPA compliant, Lead Sherpa. I've been using that ever since their beta test. So I've been doing text before most people even knew that that was a channel to do. And so I did it and I still do it to today. But RVM is one of the things that just honestly, man, I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth with the amount I would be sending, the fine I would pay for it, just probably would just be too much.
Well, the fines keep going up and up and up, and there's lawyers' fees, all that, etc. So do bandit signs work in SoCal?
I've used them in the past. If you go down to like Los Angeles, you'll see like 10 of them on a telephone pole, like 3 deep. It takes a lot of management. So we stopped doing them probably 2 years ago. We've gotten deals, just not enough to actually make the time commitment worth it. I mean, if somebody wanted to go out and put up bandit signs and they wanted to have that direct their phone number to me, they can put up the signs and I'll answer the phone calls. We're good at that and we'll close a deal. But going out street by street, and some of the areas in LA too, you need to be really careful because you don't want to leave your car running while you get out and do bandit signs because your car is going to be gone. So you have to be careful in some of those places as well where you go, because to me, employee safety is number one. I literally had a guy get a gun drawn on him the other day out of the house, and he literally had to run out of there because the guy decided he didn't want to sell and we were trying to enforce our contract. But to me, safety of the employees is number one, right? If you start losing your employees to gunshots, you got some problems because your business name is going to be in the news. You're going to have a lot of issues. So that's the last thing I want to see happen. So bandit signs for me, it's not worth it to go do. But again, if somebody wants to put them in LA, I'll answer their calls. We'll make a deal. So
yeah, that's my problem. I started out all bandit signs, and then eventually I was the sole reason why my county banned bandit signs, and now they are insane. So I was putting out, I think, 400 a month, and I did not stop. They'd pick it up 3 hours later. I had someone put it down again. I had other people doing it for me because I was making so much money. Eventually, they started paying more. They beefed up code enforcement, and they banned me. They know my number. I'm whitelisted. But yeah, we're big on direct mail now, so that works for us really well. So do you still do PPC then? I mean, I keep hearing everyone talk about it.
Yeah, we still do. I mean, compared to the $35,000 to $40,000 we spent on it a month before, we're spending about $15,000 a month on it right now, which is still a lot for some people. But when you look at how much we spent versus how much we're spending now, it's significantly less. But we are ramping it back up. So I imagine we'll probably be by the end of the year about $30,000 a month on it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's good. Do you do any like Facebook advertising too? Like lead forms? No,
we've tried it, but haven't really gotten what we want off of it. So I've got some friends that are actually trying it right now, and if they can make it work, then I'll piggyback off them and say, how'd you do this? But for now, I don't know enough about that. I would pay someone to do that, kind of like PPC. I don't manage it myself anymore. I want to focus on my business and not be like pulled in so many different directions. So eventually we'll keep shifting how we're doing our marketing and keep spending more in each channel.
Okay, so I actually have some students in our university that are in the inland area, Empire. They do okay. They always complain to me. They say there's just too many investors, blah, 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 blah. How do you really make yourself different than all the other investors and you're getting all these great deals? What makes you different?
Well, I can take a guess on what they're doing, right? So those people are probably advertising to those standard lists that everybody hits. So they're probably hitting pre-foreclosure. They're probably hitting a divorce list, a tax default. Those are going to be the ones that people talk about the most for a lot of newbies, right? So if they're hitting that list and you think of how many new people are out there trying to start this, they're all hitting those same lists. So they're not taking themselves out of the norm, right? You have to get to the point where you're getting houses and leads from houses that most people aren't getting. So Drive for Dollars, to me, that's a fantastic source because you're out there and you're looking at houses that most likely aren't showing up on those standard lists, unless, of course, it's code violations or something like that. But you're getting leads that people typically aren't going to be getting. Otherwise, there's a lot of things out there like list stacking. So if you take some of those lists and you stack them up together and look for multiple levels of distress, Property List Manager has a damn good list stacking software. So if you look at that, you stack your lists up and then you send a little bit nicer mailer or you drop by the house for people that potentially have 4 to 5 levels of distresses versus focusing just on that one. That will make a pretty big difference.
So if they're in the Inland Empire, I have a Meetup Group. It's free. So if they go to meetup.com and look for SoCal Real Estate Wholesalers, that's my group. We haven't been too consistent on our meetings, but we are going to start doing that here pretty quick. So free to attend. We're not selling anything there. My goal is to try to help people kind of get going. And we spend a lot of time answering questions. So if they're in that area, definitely make sure that they know about that and they attend so we can try to help them get started.
Okay, and can you explain this to me? I keep seeing some of these top gurus. You've talked about Jalen White. I've seen Max Maxwell. They keep posting stories about lead gen pros. I see it all the time. I'm kind of confused with it. I've seen ads on stories and Instagram. Like, can you explain that to me and the audience?
Yeah, so what we did is I partnered with Jalen and Max, and we tried to fix something that a lot of people aren't doing right. So we looked at cold calling and texting. So outbound cold calling, outbound texting. And we said, what can we do to try to make it real estate specific? Because a lot of the companies out there that are cold calling are calling for a lot of different industries. So if you listen to some of these calls, they make you cringe because the people on the phone just don't care. There's actually a couple good companies out there, but we set out there to make something completely different, something that actually was focused on real estate wholesaling, and it's done a good job. We've been very happy with the results, but we're actually in the next couple months launching an inbound call center. So we're actually going to take in the leads and we're going to probe for motivation to see if they're a high, medium, or low probability, and we're going to pass those off to those investors saying, hey, you've got a high priority lead. You need to call them right now. Or, hey, this one's pretty low. I'd put them on your follow-up. Now, what we're doing, my team takes in about 400 calls a week for my business. We are using my training, and we are physically training all of those people the same way my leads managers are trained. So I'll be able to actually swap out my leads managers to these call center leads managers, and I won't notice a difference. So they know what they're doing. They're going to probe for that motivation. And if you've heard of some of these call centers out there, I used to use one of them, and they're bad. Like,
I'm going to name it. I'll name it for you. We use Call Porter. They suck. I got a beef with them because they've lost me so many calls. I had a motivated seller, and the lady's talking, and she says, how big's the basement? I live in South Florida. The guy hung up. I couldn't call him back.
Yeah.
I'm done with him.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get people that will hang up, right? And I used a different one, but it was almost like someone said, hey, what's the company name? And they just said, we're not allowed to release that information. And the lady said, well, I just want to know who I'm calling. Well, ma'am, I can pass it off to the company if you'd like. She literally screamed call center. Like, it sounded like there was nobody building rapport, and they were so stuck to a script that someone will say, hey, I want to sell my house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet. And the person will go, all right, sir. How many bedrooms and how many baths? I just said 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, great, sir. How many square feet? It's like, dude, like calls makes me want to like jump through the phone and just wring someone's neck. Because they're just so focused on such a broad thing, right? They're not industry specific. Now, my promise to everyone with what we're launching is I won't put anyone out there that I won't use on my own company. And we're going to test those people on my calls before we put them on customers' calls. So it's going to kind of be tested and approved, right? And we're going to make sure these people get constant training. They know what they're doing as far as probing for that motivation. And it's going to be specific to real estate wholesalers, real estate investors. We're not going to go out and start answering for a solar company or something like that, because we're going to focus our effort on the biggest challenge I see, even what you just said with Pat Live. We're going to blow them out of the water because we're going to offer our pricing really competitive, and we're going to go out and make sure that we are truly taking care of everyone's leads like they're our own. And that's what's going to be really important.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I think you sold some people right now. That's really important. Are these people going to be American, Filipino?
They're going to be most likely South America. We've got about 10 people right now we're onboarding for this, and we're still not ready to launch yet. We're going to be training these people for a couple months prior to letting them start to take calls. Of course, we want to go with neutralized accents. We want to do things like that. But people are really hung up on accents a lot, which I don't quite understand, because if you go to the grocery store, you're going to find someone with an accent. It's not like it used to be that accents are overseas, right? There's a lot of people in the US that speak different languages. They have accents. So it doesn't just scream overseas call center to people anymore like it used to. And so people got to give it a chance. They definitely do. And we're going to neutralize those accents the best we can. But ultimately, we could put it in the US. I would love to, but I mean, the price would have to be so much higher, because we'd have to, pay for the building. We'd have to pay for the supervisors, pay for all that stuff right there. And I mean, the cost would probably go 4 times.
I didn't know if you're doing that. That would seem a little insane, but yeah, I mean, accents. I mean, I've had students before with our PPS probate system. They have an accent. I'm not going confidence. It's all about confidence. If you got an accent, you got confidence, you're going to do great. I mean, there's some gurus out there who got accents. They're making millions. Yeah. So it's all about confidence. So to run back on your direct mail, I'm a big direct mail guy. I'm a nerd when it comes to stats. What is your callback rate, if you won't mind me sharing?
So if we send it, we're going to get calls in on probably half of 1%. So it's a competitive market. So we'll get calls in, and sometimes it will be less. But half of 1% is our average. And then from those, we don't consider everyone that calls in to be a lead. So from those, we'll get about 40 to 50% of those that end up being leads.
Nice.
So half of 1%, then take that down even further to people that end up being leads, being about, call it 50%.
Yeah, we do 6 counties right now with our direct mail, and 5 of the counties is about, I can tell you later about it. We got some postcards that are interesting, but let's say a year ago, we had 5 of them where percent was about 1 to 1.5. And we got this one county that's huge. It's at about, 1%, maybe 0.8, but there's so much profit. I can't stop doing it. Okay.
Yeah, a lot gets wasted. I mean, it gets thrown away, right? But I mean, we're making so much off of it that it makes sense. I mean, we're sending probably about 200,000 mailers a month now. And I mean, a lot of it goes in the garbage. I hate the waste, but I mean, I prefer people just call us instead of throwing it away, but I can't do anything about that.
And do you try to harvest your mailbacks?
So we use Yellow Letters HQ for our mail. They have a return mail system, and Dude, it's great. Todd's a good friend of mine. So you can get the scanner and you can scan in the barcode on all the return mail, and then you can create a new marketing campaign based off your return mail. But if I took you out here in my office right now, we've got a bin with probably,
I've been right here.
I would say probably 5,000 to 6,000, if not more, sitting there, because it is very time consuming. So I know there's like Skip Genie. You can literally send your mail to those guys, and they will scan it all for you and stuff like that. It gets a little pricey to have them do that. But I mean, ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to try to find like a high school kid or even younger that wants to just make a little bit of money and just have them sit there and scan. That's probably what we'll end up doing. Cause with that amount of mail we're sending, we can't keep up on it. We just can't.
Definitely. So I know it's been your experience. You've trained over 5 acquisitions guys. You're doing very well here. I saw here you're actually starting a sales acquisitions training. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. So this is actually really exciting, very new to us. So this is what I partner with my COO on. So we've closed so many $100,000 deals. Our average deal right now is about 70 to 75,000 on our average spread. Now that doesn't mean we don't get smaller ones, right? That's average. But what we realized is a lot of the trainings that are out there and available are online. And if you're in person, you're watching a PowerPoint, right? There's a lot of great online trainers out there. John Martinez, great dude, good friend of mine. His courses are fantastic. But what we wanted to do was something a little different, right? We wanted to do the 2-day in-person role-playing interactive training. So you're not going to be sitting there hanging out, watching a PowerPoint, maybe taking away 2 to 3 nuggets. You're going to, before the meeting, you're going to tell us, send us a quick video on what your strengths are and your weaknesses are, in your opinion, on acquisitions. And we're going to build the training based on the weaknesses of the people that are coming. And we're going to have them bring leads, and we're going to spend time role-playing with people in the room and then having them call some of these leads live and helping them through the process. So we want to help them overcome objections. We want to help them close more deals, increase their spreads. And we really want, we have such a passion about this. We want people to leave that room after 2 days going, oh my gosh, I can't take any more information in, because they practice through repetition over 2 days to get that more into their long-term memory versus it just, flying over you. And this is what we've done. So Max Maxwell, you mentioned him. He flew out one of his new acquisitions people. She had never closed a deal. She came out and spent 2 days with me and Mike. We just spent all day training, role-playing with her, teaching her. She went back and closed 5 deals her next week, and she is now his VP of sales. And it's less than a year. Then a buddy of mine in Portland, same thing. He had a guy that just was really struggling with the close. We brought him out Thanksgiving week of 2019, so not that far back. And he spent a couple days with us. He went back and broke sales records for the company, contracts, and income for December. So the way we're training it is proven on a North Carolina market and a West Coast market. So I think it's definitely something that's going to really help people out. And it's, fairly cheap. It's our first one to do. So it's in April in Austin, Texas. We're going to meet everybody right in the middle and get everybody in the room. And we're not talking about how to grow the business. We're strictly talking how to close deals, how to talk to sellers. And if business owners can feel safe sending their acquisitions people to this, because we're not going to train competition. We're training their team how to perform better on the acquisitions role. So it's going to be really cool to see what we can do with people from start to finish on this. And our first one is April 6th and 7th. And it's going to be a small room. We're going to have probably 30 to 40 people maximum in the room. It's not going to be 200 people. It's going to be very hands-on. Therefore, we can give enough time to every single person that's in there to make sure that everyone gets their time. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Everyone should be in the room.
That's exciting. Do you have a website? Do you know what it's called?
Yeah. So if you go to thereimasters.com, you can go to plans and pricing on there, and you can kind of see what we have. We're not doing the whole call us for a quote. We want to be very clear. It's right there. There's our pricing. I can set up a little promo code for everyone watching your podcast too. So we can set up a little promo code for you guys, and you can
on the bottom.
So perfect. So we'll get something set for you guys so you can actually get a little discount for the people watching it.
Sweet. So I got two last questions to really wrap this up here. So Scott, where do you want to be in the next 1, 5, and 10 years with your business?
Man, I think we're definitely going to have an economy shift. It's going to cause some issue with wholesaling a little bit. For me, I want to try to build a virtual acquisition house. So I want to start mastering multiple states and partner with local disposition people to help us move those properties, because we are really good at that acquisition side. And I know we can lock up anything anywhere. So by the end of this year, we're going to be in 4 states. We've already got our plans all outlined for that. But I would like to be in significantly more states, doing significantly more at that point. But I mean, if we're talking 10 years ahead for me, I mean, ultimately at that point, I want to start stepping out of the business. So I want to start enjoying what I've worked so hard for. And I just want to go have some fun, go on vacation, check in with the business. I'll never fully let it go, but I want to do it from different locations. And that's what I want to see. And I've got, my few businesses I've got going, the sales training as well. That's more hands-on. So that's something I'll have to keep attending. But ultimately at that point, man, I want to be kind of gone. I just want to be enjoying time, spending time with my wife. I spend a lot of time working because I enjoy it. And I want to go spend that time and go have fun. Life's short. You got to enjoy it.
So my last question to end this, I ask the same exact thing every single time. If you were 17 years old, living in Corona, California, and you had no money, maybe like $200, and you had the knowledge you had now, what would you do?
Oh my gosh, I probably wouldn't even finish high school, to be honest. But still, people watching finish high school. Man, I've actually asked myself this question, and part of it is knowing Jalen, right? Jalen started at such a young age. I admire the hell out of him for what he's done. And if I had this knowledge back at that time, I mean, if I fast forward to being 35, I probably would be to the retired point at that point, because there is so much money to be made if you focus right. And you don't need to start the business. Oh, let me correct that. You do need some money to start the business, because even driving for dollars costs gas, right? Yeah. But I would go ahead and take this knowledge and do those cheap marketing sources and focus on large deal spreads at first. Because if I can start getting some of those large deal spreads, I can start putting that back into marketing, and you can build a business very quickly. $5,000 spreads will do it if you get 50 of them, right? But if I can go out and get an $80,000 spread on a deal, I can put that back into marketing, and I can ramp up my business so fast. Now, that's assuming I have the knowledge I have now back then. If I didn't, then you're going to focus on those smaller deals, like the $4,000 deal I got to start. I mean, it's going to happen. You're not going to come out of the gate making $100,000 spreads. I mean, if you do, I mean, seriously, great job. But most likely it's not going to happen. But I would definitely do things different. I would probably be sitting on a beach right now if I started at 17.
And I mean, what marketing channel would you get to start doing deals on at that age? At
that age, I mean, I think, Drive for Dollars is fantastic. I think that's really a good one to do. And of course, it takes time to do that as well. So that's when you start reaching out to friends and say, hey, drive around, find me some houses. And you start getting people helping you with these things and have that entrepreneurial mindset really early. So that's a very cheap resource to start getting deals in the door. Bandit signs as well. I mean, if I was 17 and my funds were limited, I'd probably go and grab cardboard and start making bandit signs and start posting them up all over the place. You can do that anywhere. Like you said, they're going to get torn down really fast, but then you just got to keep going. I mean, you got to hustle, and that will get you the return. Yeah, exactly. Right. A lot of people think that everything just comes so quick because they're taught that from a lot of these podcasts they watch. It's like, well, I went from 0 to 20 million in 3 months. And it's like, no, okay, that didn't happen. All right. There was a struggle when you got started. And I think a lot of the people don't really get that vulnerability as far as what the struggles were when they started the business. They act like it's always just perfect and it was always on an uphill trend from the beginning to now. But we know that's not true. I mean, good friends of mine, Carlos and Sal, all in entrepreneurs. Most people have heard of them. Those guys are killing it. And they go out there and they do more of the flashy stuff. And that's the way they do it. And I think it's fantastic. But there's not a lot of people out there that are real. They do damn good business. They're real with what they do, but they also like the toys, which I admire. I think it's fantastic. I wear a t-shirt to work. Those guys are wearing a suit jacket and they're all that kind of stuff. And just two different mentalities, but we both have very good businesses that are really pushing forward and really growing. And they've done a good job teaching people in the education space. And I've seen so many testimonials from events and stuff they've done. I guess my caution to people, go with people like that and learn things from them that are real versus the person that started yesterday and is acting like they're a teacher. So go with the person with experience in the industry. My mentor, Sean Terry, I mean, that guy is absolutely amazing with what he does. And if you follow somebody like him, Max Maxwell, myself, we're going to make sure that we lay it down. Exactly.
Or maybe they should go to Austin, Texas.
Exactly.
Sales acquisition.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to literally put everything we have inside of us in that room. It's going to be so cool. Really cool. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, am I making a mistake literally training my competition what I do? But I mean, not really. I think it's going to be fun. And I think if we start getting a little more competition at the appointments, so be it. I wish people the best of luck. I mean, we still have ways that we're going to keep trying to push and keep trying to win.
All right, Scott, I really appreciate you coming on. I can't wait for your future and to see where you're going to be in the next 5-10 years. Hopefully you can come on later. If anyone's get a hold of you, please check the socials and everything like that and use the promo code. Thanks.
Cool.
All right.